All right, shalom, shalom. And today we are looking at greed. And I'm telling you that looking at the sin series is so shocking. How many of us as believers are on our way to destruction and we don't know it? I'm seeing the importance of teaching these things because without them, we are going to be blind. For instance, the religion of Babylon, Christianity, it actually literally teaches us to be greedy. Literally teaches us to be greedy with not only the prosperity doctrine, but with each of the Christian denominations. Each of the Christian denominations actually teach people that the importance is to succeed in this world. You have some real old-fashioned churches that teach, what you call it? Huh? Yeah, not righteousness, but giving up, like living with a base existence. But these are very, very few because, in large, most of them teach us to succeed in this world. And instead of growing up our children, teaching them about the evil of this world, we teach our children to go to school and to succeed in this world. That's the whole basic thing. So we end up teaching people greed because when they go to school, they don't teach them to share. They teach them how to eventually to work and fit into their system of greed. Now, what's the meaning of greed? The dictionary says it is a selfish and excessive desire for more of something, such as money, than is needed. A selfish and excessive desire for more of something than is needed. So you want more than what you actually need. Which is why Shaul says, with food and raiment, be here with content. Because you need food, you need clothing. So be content with that. But we are not taught to be content with that. We are taught that we are a failure if we do not have excess. When you're out in this world and you're content with what you have, they say you're worthless. And the parents will not be proud of you. They are proud of that child who is able to accumulate wealth and show the wealth. He's doing well for himself. He has a this and he has that, and she has this and she has that. That is the hallmark of how the world is run. Synonyms of greed: acquisitiveness. I think acquisitiveness comes from acquire. She keep acquiring. Avarice, covetousness. That is a big one. Covetousness is when you see other people having and you want what they have. You just desire what they have. Not necessarily that you want it, but that you need it rather, but that you want it for something that it might be able to do for you. Might be able to show status, it might be able to do something that you never thought it could do, but you covet that person, which means you wish that you had that thing that the person had. Graspingness, you want to grasp something. Mercenariness, and mercenary go into people's place and they use arms to get what they want. Rapaciousness, I don't understand that one. Now, greed is dangerous and one of the most dangerous sins because it is the direct opposite of what a true believer is called to be. Greed is the direct opposite of Matthew 16:24. Go to Matthew 16:24. The direct opposite of the thing that we need to do to follow the Messiah. So when we are greedy, we cannot follow Hamashiach. And if we cannot follow Hamashiach, we do not have eternal life. That's why greed is dangerous. Now read it, please.
Then said Yahusha unto his disciples, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his stake, and follow me.
So to deny yourself is the opposite of greed. Greed is when you're piling on. Denying self is when you are going into the negative. You are shedding things. So the denying self, aparnomia, aparneomai, means to affirm that one has no acquaintance or connection with someone. To forget oneself, to lose sight of oneself and one's own interests. So if you lose sight of your own interests, then greed is taken care of. But greed comes when you care about your own interests so much, you keep piling on to what you have, sometimes to ensure that you will never lack. So greed now is opposite of trust, opposite of emunah in that regard, when we add things to ensure that we will not want. So in adding to ensure we do not want, how are we going to depend on the Most High for our day-to-day provision? And so that is why they teach us in this world with their banking system and with everything. Bank your money, save your money. When we were young, from we were children, the banks came into the place and said, you can have a savings account at our banks. So from we were little children, we have accounts. And they bring us into the system to keep adding and adding to ensure. All right? So nothing wrong with saving, by the way. Nothing wrong with saving. But I'm speaking about as a believer. When you come out as a believer, you have to now know the system that you're in. Bank is good to keep the money, but usury is actually wrong. The banks are actually transgressing the Most High's word by usury, charging interest on everything. So the system itself is wrong, but we only utilize it for our convenience. Okay? Now, they taught us banking, and banking taught us to hoard. That's one thing you have to understand. It taught us to hoard things. And in hoarding things, that is now becomes evil, because hoarding is evil. And it also now puts us against the way of the Most High, because we keep hoarding to ensure that we always have and we will never have any lacking. So Strong says to deny utterly, that is disown, abstain. So denying self is the opposite of greed. And in Luke 14, Luke 14, 26, it confirms this.
If any man come to me and hate not his father and his mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple.
So that's the last part that we're interested in here. His own life also. So he says you have to hate your own life. That means you have to love yourself less and not exalt yourself. Because the two greatest commandments, to love Yahuwah with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. You now have to relegate yourself below Yahuwah and on the same par with your neighbor. Yahuwah has to come first, and the neighbor and yourself come second. So if you don't hate your own life, you will not be able to relegate yourself. If you keep giving yourself what the self wants, the self is going to be puffed up. And we're going to look at the counterfeiting, ruach and greed after this. Verse 27.
And whosoever doth not bear his stake come after me cannot be my disciple.
Now, this is also directly related to greed, the willingness to bear the stake. That is why we say sometimes we are greedy, we hoard in order that we do not bear the stake, in order that we do not go through any period of patience, of long suffering, of waiting on Yahuwah. Was it yesterday we were talking about the people who do like the ancestral worship, and they are saying that it takes too long. Shortcut. So greed is sometimes, oftentimes, a way of getting a shortcut, of assuring ourselves that we don't have to wait so long. But it says, if you do not bear the stake, if you do not bear this burden, you cannot be his disciple. In verse 33,
So likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple.
you see that? So we live in a world now of religion. Religion reading this book and all of these things. Forsake all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple. And yet still we are in religion, in church, going after materialism and reading these things. These things are going to actually judge us on that day. We have to forsake everything that we have. We cannot hold any affection to anything that we have, or else that is what? Idolatry. Idolatry. So we have to be willing to forsake everything that we have, to give up everything that we have. We cannot hold anything as precious. No material things as precious. No, denying the self. Why is it important? We spoke the other day about the counterfeiting ruach. That in itself cannot even be spoken about here because it will take too long to explain it. But that is the ruach that is with man, that urges man to sin. And that urge to sin is that urge to sin causes us to want to add on, add on, add on. The counterfeiting rock is going to assure us that we need this, we need this. It works on our lust, it works on our desires, it pumps us up our lust and our desires, so much so that we go into sin. We cannot be satisfied. And that is why you have the rich people in this world, never ever satisfied. The counterfeiting rock assures you that wherever you are not good. You will satisfy someone with something, and then it's just a little bit like after they crave more and more. So the counterfeiting rock is never ever satisfied. And so even in the book of Pistis Sophia, it tells us about adding matter to our matter. Because we are matter. And to add matter to our matter, that is what we have to be aware of. We have to be aware that we are not piling on this, piling on that. And the supermarket is one place that puts us in this trouble. Supermarket, the mall, shops, different shops, because everybody has different desires. There are some people love electronics. Electronic shops is their greatest enemy. Because when you see the different things in there and you look and look, sometimes you don't need the things, but you see it when you have the money. Instead of thinking how we can give the money to somebody who is in need. We just say, okay, that can do this for us. And we go and we buy it and we buy it. And before we know it, our house is full of all sorts of things that we really, truly do not need. That is give thanks to the counterfeiting ruach. Now, the counterfeiting ruach works with this world, works with Babylon, because the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So in order to destroy us, they know how we are. And so they give us what we want in order to bring us to sin. That is why this world is the direct enemy, direct opposite of the Most High. We see this world and people going about, and people think, when you tell people like things like these, they don't understand. The world is conditioned to go against and rebel against everything that the Most High says. I remember a movie called Wall Street, Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen. When Michael Douglas got up in the court and said, greed is good. And it became a very famous line back in those days. I think it was the 80s or 90s.
80s.
80s. It became a very famous line. Just that greed is good. Because that is how Babylon is run. Babylon is run through greed. They make you greedy by stirring up your desires, stirring up the counterfeiting ruach, and then they at the top who cannot be satisfied, the richest men, then the wealth goes up to them. Because if you have a business here, that business will need a business here, and a business there, and a business there. And so they try to acquire stakes in these businesses or stakes in businesses that these lower businesses need. And that is how the system works. So the ones at the top are the ones who actually control. But in order to do that, they need us at the bottom. So what do? Stir us up with desires. Stir us up with giving us influencers who encourage us to do all sorts of things. The fashion houses, this and that. They use influencers in their advertisement. They give us televisions to put in our house to stir up our greed. They put billboards outside. They give us the shopping malls. They give us famous. They give us the internet. And everywhere we go, they fill us with desires. So when we look, we are just one big bunch of desires, and we go, whatever you need, let's go check the internet. Bam, whatever you want, you can get. Greed. Revelation 18:11. Yeah.
They also use one of their greatest weapons too, to snag us in, and that's us. Black people themselves account for, I guess, the majority of the money they make. In videos, they always showing shoes, clothes, jewelry. And in the 80s and the 90s, that was a really big thing. You walk around with gold chains on and all this stuff, and if you saw it on TV, you wanted it. You desired it, and some people stole for it, some people killed for it. And it's just a shame that they use the Most High people to perpetuate.
Remember Michael Jordan? I remember one time I went up. I was in New Jersey, and I wanted some sneakers. I went to buy sneakers. Now me, I want the cheapest sneakers. I go to the cheapest one. And when you see, I was in a particular store, and it hit me. That time I was in sin. I didn't know anything about the Most High. But then we see some people come in, some poor people. Obviously poor people. I am looking for the $20, $30 sneakers. You see them come in, $150 Jordan. And you can see the people are poor, and I'm looking at them at the time. I'm looking at them, I'm like, so who can they afford? And one after the other, you saw them coming in. Huh? Stirred up by advertisement. And they give us the sports in order to stir us up and give us the stars. Michael Jordan.
Our people.
I want to, yeah, as you said, our people. I want to be like him. Revelation 18:11.
And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore.
That's the key to Babylon, their merchandise. It's stir up our greed to buy their merchandise. Most of the time, we don't even need it. Most of the things we buy, we just throw them down. We don't use it. Continue.
The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen, and purple and silk and scarlet, and all fine wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass and iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men.
Mm-hmm.
And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee.
All right, hold on. The fruits that thy soul lusted after. That is Babylon's job. To get our soul to lust after their products. So the Most High gonna have to destroy it in the end. That's the only way we can calm down ourselves. Yeah, the only way this can be taken away is to destroy it. Read the verse again. And the fruits?
And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all.
No more at all. The fruits, the things which are dainty and goodly, that's what they have gotten us to lust after. Now, we ourselves have to know that we have to police ourselves. Let me just say, with greed, we have to police ourselves. People cannot really teach us not to be greedy. We have to police ourselves. We have to know within ourselves and say, no, I don't need it. I don't need that. Let me get rid of this. Let me make a sacrifice. Let me get this away. This, no, this is controlling me too much. No, I desire this too much. We have to police ourselves. No, similar to greed, it's the same thing though. Surfeiting. Luke 21:34. Which is gonna show us that surfeiting in the end is gonna get us. It's gonna get us snared in the end if we don't put it in check. Don't think it's gonna be miraculously it's gonna be miraculously cured. As I said, we have to police ourselves and stop ourselves. Luke 21:34.
And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares.
Mm-hmm.
For as a
No,
snare,
no, no, no. It says, take heed to yourselves. What did I just say? We have to police ourselves. Take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting. Surfeiting is an overabundant supply, more than you need. An intemperate or immoderate indulgence in something such as food or drink. An intemperate or immoderate indulgence in something such as food or drink. To indulge to satiety in a gratification such as indulgence of the appetite or senses. So that is to indulge, you're overly satisfied. Synonyms are belly full, excess, fat, overabundance, overage, overkill, overmuch, overplus, oversupply, plethora, superabundance, superfluity, surplus. Synonyms again: cram, glut, gorge, sate, stuff. Hmm. And you see these words: cram, glut. This one word, belly full. You always usually try to eat to get a belly full. But it's telling you when you're too satisfied, then it is a sin. And go to Luke 21:35.
For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch ye therefore and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man.
So we cannot stand before the Son of Man if we are overcharged with surfeiting, that we are overcharged with cramming ourselves to perfect satisfaction. And the Messiah gave an example of how we should live in the next verse, verse 37. He showed that he was living by example.
And in the daytime he was teaching in the temples, and at night he went out and abode in the mount that is called the Mount of Olives.
And that word abode there means to spend the night in the open air. And he said, foxes have holes and birds of the air have their nest, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. So he led by example. Make sure we are not overcharged with surfeiting. Now, another problem is gluttony. Gluttony. All of this seems to have to do with food. Proverbs 23:19-21. Gluttony. Why, this work here is not an easy one. So easy to see.
Hear thou, my son, and be wise, and guide thine heart in the way. Be not among winebibbers, among riotous eaters of flesh, for the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags.
Drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. So the glutton shall come to poverty. Now, poverty there can be physical and it can be spiritual. Because as we just saw, surfeiting in the end time will get us snared in what is coming on the earth in the end. And the surfeiting that we spoke about, getting snared in what is coming in the earth in the end, it is the beast system. The beast system is set up for Babylon. Babylon has trained us to go after our lusts and our desires. When the beast system comes, the Most High warns us in Revelation 13:16 and 17 that if we take the mark or we take the number of his name, then we are going to be damned. So we conditioned to greed. We are in the season of the mark of the beast, and we are in the season of the number of his name. So when we are gluttons, when we cannot train our appetites, when the number comes, many of us are going to be gobbled up. Many of us are going to think that we can overcome, and we're not going to do this. But if we remember the ascension of Isaiah, it tells us that when the anti-Messiah comes, he is going to snatch away many of the believers. Because there's going to come an anti-Messiah that is going to come with signs and wonders, that is going to deceive believers. And he is going to tell believers that, this is the system, nothing wrong with it. And he's going to convince even those religious people who believe in signs and wonders. Those who, when you tell them the truth, about Jesus. They tell you about what has been achieved in Jesus name, what they have seen in Jesus name. Those people, many of those people will be snared. So gluttony, meaning of gluttony, one given habitually to greedy and voracious eating and drinking. Now, Proverbs 15:27 tells us that when we are greedy, we are going to even trouble our own house. We're going to trouble our own house. We're going to disturb our own house. Read it, please.
He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house, but he that hateth gifts shall live.
All right. He that hateth gifts, hateth bribes, hateth gifts from people who will come and feed our counterfeit rock, feed our greed. So when you greedy of gain, you trouble your own house. It means you will not have any peace in your own house. Because greed is going to come with a whole lot of different sins. It's going to come with envy. It's going to come with anger. It's going to come with jealousy. It's going to come with several sins so that when you are living in your own house, then your own house will be troubled. And your own house can refer to not only your own literal house, it can refer to your surroundings, it can refer to your friends, all of that. Because so many friendships have been broken up. Huh? And your temple. You yourself, your house. Yes, yes. Trouble. That's a good one. And trouble your temple, because your body is a temple. So when you are greedy and it troubles your temple, you're gonna go out and you're gonna see things that you know as a believer you must not eat. But because you desire it and because you are greedy, you want it and you pollute yourself. That's a good one. So yeah. So greed, there's nothing good in greed. And one of the hallmarks of Babylon that sustain Babylon and their religious system are the greedy shepherds. Shepherds, Isaiah 56:10. When the shepherds now are greedy, we have a big problem. Big problem.
His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber.
Mm. Continue.
Yea, they are greedy dogs, which can never have enough, and they are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, every one for his gain, from his quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Come ye, say they, I will fetch wine, and we will fill ourselves with strong drink, and tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant.
So the watchmen are blind. When you are greedy, you are going to be blind. Because the Most High's rock will not be in you. Because Wisdom 1 tells us that Ruach HaKadosh of discipline will not make its um, have place in a body that is subject to sin and will not abide when unrighteousness comes in. So when greed comes in, the rock is gone. So the watchmen, the shepherds, will be blind and they will be ignorant. It says they are all dumb dogs, they cannot bark. Now, why will a shepherd think about a pastor or a teacher? Why will he not be able to bark? Why will he be dumb? Because he's greedy. And because he wants money from the followers, he cannot call out sin. He cannot tell them the truth. He cannot speak what the Most High has given him to speak. He cannot bark. Sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. So they're going to be sleeping on the word. because they are greedy and they want to benefit from the word. So they do not want to give a harsh word. Yea, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough, and they are shepherds that cannot understand. So you see another thing with greed. Greed makes us blind so much that we cannot understand. And even in today's teaching, we plan to show that those without understanding shall fall. When we do not have understanding before the Most High, that is to our destruction. They all look to their own way, everyone for his gain from his quarter. So these are the blind shepherds. This is what you get in religion. Now, how does this relate to Babylon? Religion is a basic foundation of Babylon because you have to get the mind of the people to get them conditioned to be in an institution that conditions them to feed Babylon. So the churches are not allowed to pay taxes. They're given special concession. They have their special organization that represents them to the government. And the government takes special care of them. Now, I saw something right after Melissa. I think it was a few days ago. Hurricane Melissa that devastated Jamaica. And what the Jamaican government came out and saying that they want to have a meeting with the churches to resolve any issues they have with land and ownership. Hmm? The churches own so much property, and yet still they don't care about the common man and his land ownership. And you'll hear in Jamaica how many people they have been living on lands and they don't have titles and they this. They don't care about that. They care about the churches. Why? The churches feed the system. These greedy dogs that are not going to bark. They are going to tell people what they want to hear. And they're going to stir up people to lust so that the people can feed the system. That's just how it works, unfortunately. And then these pastors stir up our greed. So we had said earlier, greed has something to do with gifts, but it has something to do with also usury and extortion. Is Ezekiel 22:12. Greed is a very dangerous thing. 12 to 13.
Ezekiel 22.
Yes.
In thee have they taken gifts to shed blood. Thou hast taken usury and increase, and thou hast greedily gained of thy neighbors by extortion, and hast forgotten me, saith Yahuwah Eluah.
I only hope no one listening to this will be taking usury or increase. No one listening to this would be charging people increase on money because the Torah speaks against that. But it shows the connection between taking gifts, usury, and increase. And it will easily go into extortion. That's how dangerous greed actually is. Now, book The Shepherd of Hermas tells us about punishment for the greedy. No, let's not go there as yet. Let's look a little bit more. Remind me to come back to punishment for the greedy. The books of the Nazarene, yes, tells us to guard against greed. Books of the Nazarene, chapter 13, page 119. I'm just going to read it. Verse 6 says, If you find it, you tell me.
I've got it.
Okay. Verse 6.
Then Yahusha turned to the gathering and said, "Take care always to guard against all kinds of greed and acquisitiveness, for no man's happiness can be assured by his possessions. In fact, much wealth is the father of sleepless nights."
Mm-hmm. So we see that you guard yourself against all kinds of greed and acquisitiveness. As we said, it is a conscious action that we have to take. We have to police ourselves. Let me go to the Testament of God, page 65, 5:1 tells us about greed and its connection to hatred. If you have a hatred, you're gonna have greed. If you have greed and you don't have hatred, the greed is eventually going to stir up the hatred. Because all of these sins are connected. And if we don't get rid of all of them, all of these sins, one is going to lead us to the other. One is going to stir up the other. As long as the counterfeiting ruach gets something to stimulate it, it's going to stir up another one. Read it, please. Hatred is evil.
Which chapter? I mean, which verse?
5:1.
5:1.
Hatred is evil.
Hatred is evil, since it continually consorts with lying, speaking against the truth. It makes small things big, turns light into darkness, says that the sweet is bitter, teaches slander, conflict, violence, and all manner of greed. It fills the heart with diabolical venom.
So hatred is um what do you call it now? A catalyst for these many, many sins. It says all manner of greed. 5:2.
I tell you this, my children, from experience, so that you might escape hatred and cling to love of Yahuwah. Righteousness expels hatred. Humility kills envy. For the person who is just and humble is ashamed to commit an injustice, not because someone else will pass judgment on him, but out of his own heart, because Yahuwah considers his inner deliberations.
So one of the ways to get over greed is the fear of Yahuwah. To consider Yahuwah in our inner deliberation. That is not right in the sight of Yahuwah. Yahuwah does not like this. Why should I do it? Continue.
Righteousness expels hatred. Humility kills envy. For the person who is just and humble is ashamed to commit an injustice, not because someone else will pass judgment on him, but out of his own heart, because Yahuwah considers his inner deliberations.
Mm-hmm.
He will not denounce a fellow man, since fear and reverence of the Eluah overcome hatred. Being concerned not to arouse Yahuwah's anger, he is completely unwilling to wrong anyone, even in his thoughts.
All right. So when we have the fear, reverence of Allah, we will overcome greed. Greed is stopped by our fear of Yahuwah and our conscious inner thinking that I don't need this, I don't need that. This is excess. This is more than I need. I do not have to have that. So we were speaking about the punishment for the greedy. Shepherd of Hermas 65. Hermas, the shepherd here was speaking about the time of deception and luxury and torment. He was speaking about the time of punishment. How the time of punishment is relatively short to the time of the crime and the benefit of And the reason why this is so. Are you at 65?
I do believe so.
Sir, I said.
Oh, chapter 65. It's page 65.
Sorry. I'm so used to saying page.
Chapter 65. All right.
Sir, I said.
Sir, I said, since I do not fully understand about the time of the deception and luxury and torment, explain it to me more clearly. He answered and said to me, your stupidity is persistent, and you do not want to cleanse your heart and serve Allah. Take care, he said, lest the time be fulfilled and you are found to be still foolish. So listen, he said, so that you may understand the matter, just as you wish. Those who live in luxury and deception for one day and do what they want have clothed themselves in much foolishness, and they do not understand what they are doing. For on the next day they forget what they did the day before. For luxury and deception have no memories because of the foolishness with which they are clothed.
Yeah.
But when punished,
So when we acquire things, we just acquire it for the moment. Then years later, we don't even remember. We have to really search and remember. And that time it was so waning in us. I want that, I want that. And after you get it, soon after you forget everything about it. Remember the rough times though. Remember the rough times though. Exactly. This is what he's gonna say. Go ahead.
but when punishment and torment cling to people for a single day, they are punished and tormented for a year. For the punishment and torment have long memories. So being punished and tormented for a whole year, they then remember the luxury and deceit and realize that they are suffering these evils because of them.
So much of the chastening that we are going through is because of the indulgence that we had. And the reason for that is that the indulgence that we have stamps something in the memory of our DNA, stamps something in the memory of our mind. Everything is imprinted in us that there is this memory of this desire. Now, if we do not go through chastening, that memory will remain and will easily be stirred up back. So we have to go through the chastening to purge that out. It's a spiritual cleansing that the Most High might use physical things and situations. And we do not know that that's what's happening to us. But it is the mercy of the Most High to cleanse us and to purge us. So that is why we go through chastening. Continue. All those, therefore, who live in luxury and deception.
All those, therefore, who live in luxury and deception are tormented in this way, because even though they have life, they have handed themselves over to death. Sir, I said, what kinds of luxuries are harmful? Everything people enjoy doing, he said, is a luxury for them.
Wait. Everything that people enjoy doing is a luxury for them. If you tell this to the world will say, no, get away from that. Then what is there to life? What is there to life? They don't know that serving Yahuwah, that there's nothing sweeter than to serve the Most High. It's the spiritual realm where we get our enjoyment. With Yahuwah, you cannot get enough of him. There's so much vastness to it. Continue.
For even angry-tempered people indulge themselves when they give free rein to their passion. And adulterers and drunkards and slanderers and liars
and greedy people
and robbers and those who do things such as these all give free rein to their own sickness. They indulge themselves therefore by their action. All these luxuries are harmful to Allah's servant. Because of these pleasures, therefore, those who are punished and tormented suffer.
Greed is right there in it. It says it calls it a sickness. A sickness. It's a spiritual sickness. Continue.
But there are also luxuries that save people. For many indulge themselves in doing good, being carried away by the pleasure it gives them.
You see the balance. This is the other side of it. This is what you enjoy doing now. You enjoy doing good. Instead of indulging yourself, you do good. Continue.
This luxury, therefore, is profitable for Elua's servants and brings life to such a person. But the harmful luxuries mentioned above bring torments and punishment to them. And if they persist and do not repent, they bring death upon themselves.
All right. So that is greed, a great sickness. Now, in the book, The Order of the Ancients, it tells us that greed is a fruit of wickedness. Order of the Ancients, chapter 6, page 10. If you have that one. Chapter 6, verse 10.
Chapter 6, verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
So, O Elisha, the ways are placed before every man.
No, it's chapter 6, verse 5. Sorry.
Verse 5. With the wicked, it is not so, because the fruits of wickedness are greed,
The
malice.
first one that is called as the fruit of wickedness is greed. And all the rest are also, all of these are interrelated. Continue.
With the wicked, it is not so, because the fruits of wickedness are greed, malice, falsehood, pride, presumption, deception, guile, insolence, unrighteous anger, folly, arrogance, lewdness, sexual immorality, blasphemies, selfishness, blindness of the eyes, deafness of the ears, stiffness of neck, and hardness of heart.
All right. So the fruits of wickedness, it begins with greed and all those interrelated sins that come with it. So in order to avoid greed, we are given the order of the ancients. Acts 4:22, Acts 4:32. To show how you how the order deals with greed or helps to prevent greed. Acts 4:32.
And the multitude of them that believed were of one heart and of one soul. Neither said any of them that aught of these things which he possessed was his own, but they had all things in common.
So the best way to overcome greed is to not really own anything. That's the best way. The way to perfection is to not really consider that you own anything. Everyone had all things common, which means what is mine is yours, what is yours is mine. So you don't have anything, but you have everything you need. That's the whole idea of actual communal living or a communal lifestyle. Now, if there is selfishness in that, then it will not be able to work. Out of the Ancients, chapter 2 tells us, and this is how we'll end, tells us about material possession. Verse 2, everyone who desires. And remember, the order of Hanuk is Zion.
Everyone who desires to enter the order of Hanuk must be one who loves his Alua with all his heart, might, mind, soul, strength, and soul, and one who loves his fellow man as himself, according to the word of Yahuwah through Moshe.
So if we don't have this fundamental love Yahuwah with all our heart, mind, strength, and soul, and love our fellow man as ourselves, we cannot enter into Zion. Now think of us being greedy. Think of us being greedy. How can we enter Zion? You see, the world has been deceived by religion. And the major religion there tells us about being raptured away and everything. And there is no emphasis on this, loving our neighbor as ourselves and loving Yahuwah with our all, our hearts, mind, and soul. There's no emphasis in obedience. But it tells you you cannot enter Zion unless you love Yahuwah with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. Continue.
He must covenant to live the Torah of consecration and to hold all things in unity with his brethren, according to the pattern set by our first parents. Because when they went out from the garden, they did not divide the land, but held it in unity until their future generations, through wickedness, began to lay claim to it for themselves. Behold, this private ownership of the property came to pass through the teachings of the evil combination, which was organized by Cain, so that men might get gain for themselves, because the love of Eloah had man is not in them.
So when the love of the Most High and man is in us, we will not really care about any personal possession. So the order of the ancients is set up to conquer greed among other things. It's to bring us to perfection. It is to bring us to the point where we can enter Zion. So when we have all things in common, that conquers no greed. Because when you have personal possessions, the counterfeiting ruach is not going to be satisfied. It's going to be telling you to pile on this. It's going to find excuses for you to get this and to get that and to add this and to add that. Greed now is going to stir up all of the other sins. And we will not be able to reach to the point where we can love Yahuwah with all our heart, minds, and soul, and love our neighbors as ourselves, because greed is going to strengthen the love of self and provision for self and attention to self. That is what has to be taken away. So when you deny self, that is when you overcome greed. When you overcome greed, you are able to deny self. You cannot deny self if we are in greed, if we are in personal possession. If we think about this is mine and that is mine. Yeah? Impossible. So that is greed. I don't know if anyone has anything to say on this, but that is the power of the order of the ancients of helping us to overcome this and all the sins. Oh, it feels rainy. Like the rain will soon come. All right, anyone has anything? Well, sin is so dangerous. All of them interconnected, and every one of them so important, and all of them so easy to do, and all of them so natural to do, and all of them we have been cultured to do. So we are here in a battle against the old self, a battle against our experiences, how we were brought up. We have to. That's why the word says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind," because we can easily say, "But I have to have this, and I have to have this." You have to be transformed and say, no, you don't have to have anything. Trust in the Most High with all your heart and lean not to thine own understanding. Yeah? He will provide for you. He will provide for us. For me, that has been my life from ever since. From ever since I left what I was doing and depend on the Most High, I have not lacked. The only time I lack is when I fast. So that is a deliberate lacking. But I have never, ever, ever lacked. If I say I lacked, I'll be lying. That's all of us. We cannot say that. I can speak for myself. Never lacked. Let us trust in Him so we don't have to be greedy. And He is a good Father. He gives you what you need at the right time. At the right time, He gives you what you need. Not when you want it. So we're not like the people who do the different acts that are against the Most High in order to speed him up. Witchcraft, sorcery, worship of familiar spirits, ancestral worship, all of those things. sow a seed. We are not the people who do those things. We are the people who wait. Because the word says what? They that wait upon Yahuwah shall renew their strength. So we wait on Yahuwah. And we deny ourselves, not focusing on greed, but focusing on need. Okay? Anyone? All right. Thank you. Shalom, shalom.